Welcome back to another episode of Bearded Outdoors. Today I would like to talk to you about what I use when I wade fish the Maumee River Walleye Run when I'm not in my boat. Um, Things that I like to use, some gear that I use that makes the run a little bit better for me. First thing you're going to want, good pair of waders, whatever you like, you know, whatever kind of waders you like, it doesn't really matter. Just get some good ones. Seems the waders just don't last anymore regardless of how much you spend. So get what you want. You're gonna want a good stringer. This is, I don't even know who makes it. It might have been Berkeley or somebody. It's super long. It's like a 15-foot stringer. So I got it wadded up here because the extra length does come in handy for other purposes. But I just wad this up when I hook them to my waders. But I just put a little carabiner on here so I can clip it to my waders. And I like these ones versus the cheap little all metal ones because they're a lot stronger. You can just tell how much stronger they are than those other ones. They make nylon and other ones like that too, which I've heard are pretty good. But I really enjoy this stringer. But you need a stringer. Attach that to your waders or to you in some way. Now, what I usually have next to my stringer on my waders is a good net. You know, you're just gonna need a decent net. And again, I have this elastic string. It's stretchy, so I can, you know, get some movement and not have a super long cord attached to it. But I just got a little clip tied on there, and again, I'll attach this to my waders too. And both of these will just be off like this in the current or whichever side of the river I'm on. So if the current's going this way, I'll put them on this side of the waders, obviously. And if the current's going that way, I'll put them on this side of the waders. You can figure all that stuff out too. Pretty self-explanatory. Now, my waders, they have a little pouch. I can put some stuff in there, tackle wise, little hard box or something, and it works pretty good. I just got tired of doing that and wanted something that I felt was a little bit better. So I actually got this chest pack from Umpqua here. I think that's how you say it. I'm not really sure, to be honest, but it's packed right now full of crap, but it's actually pretty slender. It doesn't stick off too far. I was afraid initially that it was going to be way out to here and in my way when I'm trying to fish, but it's actually not bad. But there's one big main compartment up here. I mean, everything is solid on this thing. It's an expensive bag, that's for sure. Took me a while to finally pull the trigger and buy it, but in this main compartment, I'll keep my leaders that I pre-tie. So this is something that I recommend, something to hold your leaders if you're one that wants to pre-tie leaders. It's what I use. I use a double-sided box currently. One side has all my weights and any swivels or beads, and I'll throw some grubs on this side. And then I'll keep a line of monofilament in here as well. And then there's extra pouches and stuff like that inside the pockets, which comes in handy. Organize some stuff. And then there's actually a little water resistant, waterproof type pouch here. You can fit some keys or a wallet or something like that if you really want to take that out in the river. Whatever you want to put in there. And then in this little front pocket, I'll usually keep some more plastics like these. Some extra weights. There's several little compartments in there for that. And then extra jig heads and things like that. If I break off my leader at the very end at the jig head and I still have a long enough leader, I'll just grab a jig head out of here, and sometimes I'll keep them in the hard box too, but I'll just grab a jig head, tie it onto the end of the leader instead of taking one off up here that's already pre-tied. So this thing is really comfortable. It's got nice thick pads and all that for shoulder straps, and it's all adjustable, and it's got a nice mesh backing here, so it's not just straps hanging on you. It actually goes over you and then buckles in down here, which is pretty nice. But one thing I like about it is it also works as a rod holder. I don't know if you can see this in here, but there's little rod holders right here. And so I can just tuck my rod in there when I'm tying on something new and keep it out of the water, and makes things a lot easier when I do have to tie on. So I like this chest pack. It's got little clips and whatnot all over the place to tie things on. I can tie my net on or my stringer if I wanted to as well. I usually keep those attached to the waders, and 'cause I'd hate for something to come off, something to break on this and lose my whole stringer or something like that. So I keep those attached to me, which I'm in the waders. So another thing that I like to have is a nice pair of snips, and I've always find these pretty good for braid since I use braid. It's on a retractable line, so I'll just put a carabiner on, attach it to here, and cuts braid really well, and mono super easy. So I like these a lot. It is Boomerang Tool Company, if anyone's wondering. Oh, and in addition to some good snips, I don't have them in my bag right now, but I recommend having some sort of needle nose pliers of some sort to get any hooks that you really need to get in there. If you get a sucker, or if you really get a walleye way down in there, or whenever you need needle nose, keep those in your waders attached. You can do a carabiner on a retractable, or put them in your bag if you have a bag, but I recommend those too. And then I've gone over this in several other videos, but of course, if I'm going to show you the rest of the stuff I use, I'll show you the rod one more time. It's a 7-foot medium power fast action tip St. Croix Premier with currently an Abu Garcia Aura S30, braided line down to a monofilament leader with floating jig head with a twister tail grub here, and currently a little inline sinker. So that is my setup. That's what I use. I personally recommend one of these. Some people don't like doing this because they say your leader length changes all the time, which is very true. Now, I make my leaders a lot longer, and then I can always trim them down, take the excess and stuff it in my waders or in my chest pack or something. I don't really recommend taking that much off a long leader and tossing it in the river. Just don't do stupid stuff like that. And then when I snag into someone else's line and bring in a Christmas present of floating jig heads and sinkers and whatnot, I usually just toss them into the end of this tube, shove them down there, and then when I get home I'll snip them and clean them up, and if they're usable I'll put them into my gear and use them for when I run out of my own stuff. So definitely recommend doing that. I usually do wingspan or a little bit longer than wingspan, leader length, wrap it around here, and if I want a shorter leader I'll just trim it off. I don't use super expensive mono, so I don't care if I have to cut some off. It's not a big deal. So just your typical Plano, I think it's a 3500 or whatnot. You could fill this up with your weights and some grubs and some swivels and beads and jig heads and whatnot too, and this would still fit in most wader pouches if you have big enough waders, and it still fits in my chest pack. But I still enjoy this double-sided one. It's pretty hard to beat, especially tucking this into waders is pretty small. So that's what I use. Obviously, I've gone over the Carolina rig in other videos. Keep grubs and twister tails with me of different colors. I got to get some more actually, but that's about it. That's what I use. I'm going to do a boat review at some point when I get a few more things done with it, and touch on that, what I have set up on the boat for the walleye run. But if I'm wade fishing, this is my gear. If you found this helpful or entertaining, whatever, hit that thumbs up, let me know. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and we'll see you out there on the river. Take care.